everyone, welcome to Bookish with Melissa
and Lonnie.
Today we're here with Nick Stillman.
Hello, nice to meet you. Well, see you again, I guess, and see you again.
Please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Okay, hello viewers. My name is Nick Stillman. I go by Nick. I am a second-year PhD student in the English Literature Department with a emphasis in writing, rhetoric, and composition studies. I know, that's exciting. So what else do you want to know? What else should I say about me?
What are your research and general interests for our viewers who want to know more about your studies?
Ooh, okay. I feel like asking a second year what their studies are is like a loaded question because they're like, well, I think it's this, but then tomorrow it's going to be this, and then I'm going to read something that's going to change my entire research paradigm. I talk to my advisor; he's going to say no. So it's hard. So it's hard to define at any one set. Like this is who I am, but I've always been interested in speculative fiction, specifically like climate fiction, science fiction. And so right now, I'll give you like my right now interest. It's on exploring like the cognitive effects of future-oriented stories on people's behavior.
Oh.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Please
Yeah.
do elaborate.
Okay, I'm going to try to elaborate for you. So I'm using this cognitive theory right now, which is like epistemic objects, which is like objects that are meant to test something that's going to happen in the future, right? So even like primates do this. The classic example is like if a gorilla is going to cross a river, sometimes they'll take a stick and they'll dip it in the water, see how deep it is, right before they cross. And so it's the explanation is we're always trying to think about future actions, right? How can I prepare for the future? How can I predict what's going to happen? And so where I'm coming in is climate fiction specifically as a sort of epistemic object for us, right? So climate's hard to think about. And so it's everywhere and it's hard to plan for and prepare for. And so how might climate fiction act as an epistemic object for us to start testing different methods of mitigating or to see how it's going to horribly fail and we're all going to die, so these kind of things. We're fine. Well, we'll be fine. But yeah, so that's kind of where my research is at right now. And a secondary research aspect, sorry, this is going to be a long answer, is looking at writing with like AI tools. So this is like the more practical part of my research. I'm kind of doing like two things. They're going to combine somehow in my dissertation. We'll see how that goes. But it's so I'm part of a couple research groups right now, and we're implementing AI for writing feedback into classes that don't normally have peer feedback to see if people are able to get use out of the AI writing tools without it doing the writing for them, right? And so that's kind of thinking about the future of writing and how that plays into it. So.
Fascinating.
Very
Fascinating.
Yes.
So what got you into this in the first place?
Yeah. Was there like a single book or like was there like something that
Was
happened?
it the time machine?
The time, you're the time machine in class. Yeah, it changed my whole life. Yeah. It's a good book. So I guess the far back answer is when I was a kid, I was ill. I was sick as a kid. And so I didn't go to school from like fourth grade all the way. I didn't graduate high school, right? So I had this huge gap and I couldn't like leave the house a ton. And so I read a lot. And the things that really resonated with me were books about like the future or other worlds, right? Because like I couldn't really control anything in my world. So it was nice to see these other worlds where I could think and like imagine in. And so I've always known I've wanted to just continue to explore that and think about one, like, how are the authors doing this to me? Like, why do I feel so much better when I read this? And also, I want to think about, like, what effect is it having on me and the way I think and the way I process the world? And so that was an easy aspect of this research area where it's like, I know the kind of books I want to read and I think about, right? Because I think they're powerful. And then the other aspects, the AI thing came about because when I first started my PhD program, I discovered this thing called ChatGPT that nobody was talking about. And in the class, I was doing an assignment for a writing assessment class, and I was like, oh my God, there's this like new thing, and nobody had talked about it. And so I started writing this paper, and my advisor's like, you gotta publish this. This is gonna like blow people's minds. And so I was like getting it ready, and then by the time it was ready, everybody knew about it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with like writing. Like something is like,
Oh,
it's so
no.
slow like to develop and get the
Mhm.
background. And so that was that. And then Andy Clark's The Experience Machine is the cognitive theorist who I'm like thinking with when I'm thinking about like how it affects our like science fiction and speculative fiction affect like our brains and when we think.
Mhm.
So
That's actually really interesting.
Yeah.
Not to be like, I feel like the only thing I can think of is like Dune right now.
oh,
She's
Dune.
really into
Dune.
Dune
Oh, you're
right
Dune
now.
I'm
fan.
not
Yeah.
really into Dune. I love the second movie. Have you
Ooh.
seen the second movie?
I've not seen it yet. I saw the first movie. I read
It's
the
very
book.
good.
And you know, Frank Herbert
The
was
book
from my
is
hometown.
so long.
It's so dense.
It's very long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of it? The whole series?
No.
Okay,
no,
yeah.
No.
I
It gets
know.
deranged.
It's
Yeah.
just
It is
very,
so unhinged.
There's a lot of words.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a big one. Yeah.
Okay. Back on track. What was your professional journey then? Because I feel like we really wanted to interview you because you seem to like found this perfect spot between like English literature and kind of this practical. But we talk a lot about this as like this technical side, like this tech that's gonna take over human writing or whatever. But I feel
Yeah.
like you've situated yourself in a really interesting place between these two kind of studies.
Yeah, that's a good question. And my professional journey is like really like up and down, and it's something that I want everybody to know, I think, because there's a lot of ways you can get here, right? Like I think you think of the typical PhD English journey as like, oh, well, you just kind of went from high school, you were the lit person, and then you went to college and you were the lit person, and then you did the same lit stuff in PhD. I did not do that at all. So I didn't graduate high school, right? So I got a job working at a car wash, and I was like the assistant manager of the car wash. And I just could not let go of all these stories I loved when I was, sick and I couldn't do anything. And so then I started writing because I was like, I want to do that for somebody else, right? I want to create a story. And so I would get in trouble all the time at my job because instead of doing my job, I would be like writing on sticky notes and like posting them around the office, in the car. And so the car was like filled with like all these sticky notes of like my story notes and ideas. And, it looked like an insane person was working there. And it kind of was. And so I then decided, this is all I think about. This is all I want to do. I got offered the manager job at the car wash. And I was like, I can't do it. I can't be a manager for the rest of my life.
Very cinematic.
Yeah, I was gonna say very movie.
It was very movie-like. And I got offered that. And I was like, as soon as he was like, I want you to be the manager, I was like, no way. I can't do that. Like, I got to do something else.
That was your Michael Scott moment where you're like, you have no idea how high I can fly.
Lonnie.
You have no idea.
Yeah,
how
you
high
shook his
I can
hand and said,
fly.
I quit.
Wow.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was a big
I'm
one.
imagining
And then
it.
everybody
imagine it with
threw
you.
their caps into the air. Yeah, it was.
And you walked off into the sunset.
He
Yeah.
put one more sticky note on the wall.
That just
And
said
it said,
PhD.
PhD. It said I quit. And then yeah, that was great. And so then I went to the University of Washington as my undergrad, and I was a writing studies major, not even English major, because I love to write, and I wanted to know like how do I create this thing, right? That's like a craft, and it's like an art form. And then after that, I couldn't get enough of that apparently, and I didn't want to make any money, and so I went to an MFA. So I have an MFA in fiction, and so that was my next move at St. Mary's College, which is kind of nearby. And while I was there, I realized that it's very difficult to publish a lot of stuff. Like it's really competitive out there, and I'm still working on it. I have a novel I just finished, but after my MFA, I was teaching at UCSC. So I went down to San Diego, and I asked my boss, how do I not apply for my own job every quarter? And she said, you get a PhD. And I said, oh, okay, I got it.
Light
right?
bulb.
Yeah, that was a big light bulb. And so I would say I'm not somebody that always dreamed of getting a PhD. I never even really considered it until somebody told me that I couldn't be employed unless I had one.
Out of necessity.
It was out of necessity, because a lot of the things I'm doing now, I was kind of doing then just in my own time. I was reading constantly, thinking about these fiction works, what effects they have on people, and then trying to figure out how I can produce those same things, right? And like kind of share what I think with the world. And so this is a different avenue to do that. And they give you the space and time to do it, and they give you teaching job, which I love to teach. So
That's wonderful.
yeah.
Why did you not pick English though? Was there like an
Mhm.
English studies in Washington versus writing studies? Like what was the kind of difference between those two?
Yeah, so there's an entire English program, and I saw that more on the like receptive side, right? I'm taking things in and I'm thinking, and I was a little intimidated having not been to high school. Like everybody has this like foundation of like the core books you have to read, and I hadn't read any of them, and so I was pretty right.
Like
so
the classics.
yeah, all the classics, and so I felt really intimidated. And when I was talking to people who had like from the English background, I was like, I'm not as smart as you, you know?
Yeah, no, we understand that. We know that.
And people want you to feel that way too.
Exactly, and that's the whole
Mhm.
point. It's all like, oh, you haven't read blah blah blah. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you don't carry a journal around and jot down your everyday notes?
John does that, but
That's
he
true.
does it
Okay,
in a very
I do it
non-pretentious
too.
way.
Yeah.
I'm insulting both of my buddies today. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. I'm extra
Oh my
mean
gosh.
today.
Oh, that's okay.
No, it's
Yeah, part
No,
of
but
it.
that's what I thought English majors
Mhm.
were. Like
Yeah.
they read like Emily Dickinson all the time,
Mhm.
and then I know so many people love Emily Dickinson.
Yeah, so some
Just an
people do,
example,
so I don't-
like, that's
Yeah.
all they know.
Yeah.
I know a guy who was like, "Oh, I don't really know about." He told me straight up, like, "I don't really know about modern day books. I only really read classics." And I was like, "Oh, I want to be you so badly.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
be you so badly, but I
Yeah.
cannot give up my sports hockey romance."
No, I
that sounds
just
that
wish
sounds great.
like,
Sports
it
hockey
was
romance.
it was less Dostoevsky and more like
Mm.
Mariana Zapata, you know.
She loves Mariana Zapata.
Hockey
Hope she gets on here.
romance.
Mm.
Guys,
No,
go
but
read her.
it felt like pressure because I wasn't English either.
Mhm.
Me and Melissa did not
We
start.
were not.
I was pre-med, so
Mhm.
I felt completely like, oh, I don't feel like as like cultured as
Mhm.
anyone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was like kind of daunted. I was like, I have no idea what close reading is.
Yeah.
I had no clue. And then when I first read like Shakespeare, I was like, whoa, this guy is like really smart. I wasn't really an English person either. I just read for fun.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed it. It wasn't ever like something academically like I was going to be inclined to study it. It was just something I enjoyed. It was like a hobby. So when people are like using big words, I have to like live action Google, I felt a little bit left out.
Yeah, it's definitely the whole like pretentious, like it's intimidating. I feel like just like becoming an English major. Sorry, there's like weird noise
It's the
outside.
machine. So
Yeah, it's the machine.
Ooh.
They're
Guys,
coming.
G-force.
Yeah.
Wait, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, it was
Yeah.
I understand the whole like intimidation or like not really feeling like
Yeah.
English was a department that would be more like writing study. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
understand the difference, definitely.
Yeah, and that's something that I felt like I said the exact same thing. I was looking at these English majors. I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, I just don't know if I would
Yeah.
fit
Yeah,
in.
like I'm not
and
your
that you
vibe
would-
right now.
Yeah,
Like,
and I love to make things. That was my
Mhm.
thing. I came into it because I was a writer. I felt like that was my identity. It's like
Mhm.
I like to make
Mm.
things
Mhm.
that didn't exist before,
mhm.
and I felt the other way, the English would be a lot more just
Reading and
consuming,
things.
and then lording it over other people. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, and
That-
I'm not interested in that.
That's
Yeah.
so true though, because one of the like biggest like oh my gosh moments was like when I was feeling that way, and then I never realized that there's two branches, right? There's like some people who are like to read a lot, and some people who like to write a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're either a
I'm
reader or a
talking to
writer.
Professor Connolly, and I'm asking him. This is like when I just transferred into being English major. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like I think I like creative writing. Like, can you give me some tips on how to like do that at school? And he goes, I hate writing. He was like, I am so slow at
Mhm.
writing.
Mm.
And he was like, it took me this many years to do my dissertation. And he was like, I'm just really slow at writing. And to me, that felt like backwards. I was like, you're teaching English. Like, how do you like? How are you slow at writing? I was
Mhm.
like, what? He's like, I don't really deal with the creative stuff either. He was like, I'm the class. He's like classics,
The classics,
right?
yeah.
So then I realized I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to do everything,
No.
which made me feel a
Mhm.
lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And this connects with your question about like the niche, right? Like how did I find this niche? And that's exactly it. As I figured out, it took me a long time to realize, and I think like you feel like you already have it figured out. It's like you have to know yourself,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to be what you think the English major is supposed to be, right? There's a space for you, and you can find your people, right?
Mhm.
And you can
Yeah.
find where you fit in, and that's going to be more authentic. It's going to allow
Mhm.
your work to be better because you
Mhm.
believe it, you know?
Mhm.
And I'm confident in what I'm doing because I've always done it. I've always been interested in this
Mhm.
thing. I'm less confident when I'm in classes with my peers when it's like they're the subject matter expert, you know, and they're super smart, you know, and I'm like, oh, I don't know anything.
You know, from like an undergrad perspective, though, we think you guys are like pretty down pat with everything.
Yeah.
That's not
It
true.
feels-
No, we don't know
It
anything.
feels
Yeah.
like Nicholas Stillman likes to draw diagrams during class, and I learned so much from them.
Are you
taught me-
serious?
You taught
I
me
gotta
the
see-
difference between like absurdism and like existentialism. I still remember that. I hope you know that. So like when you guys say like, oh, it feels like I don't really know anything against my peers, I feel like we don't really see that. Like we don't really differentiate like
Mm-hmm.
this person knows more than this TA. It just feels like you guys are like kind of like older, more knowledgeable people.
Yeah,
in my
and
opinion.
you have found your niches. That's
Yeah.
like the goal.
You feel established already
Yeah,
in our
exactly.
heads.
Wow. That's really cool to know.
Yeah.
From
Like,
an
it's
undergraduate
just, like-
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that, and I think that is a little bit true. For me personally, I don't really like rank my
Mhm.
peers, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't really do it because like some people are smarter at like this thing, you know, like Emily Dickinson, like you know everything about Emily Dickinson and why it matters and like what this can teach us, and then I have like my little area, right? And I think the way to also avoid imposter syndrome, which is like a
Yeah.
big problem, right? Even among undergrads, right?
Mhm.
Is to just find out who you are and what you love and just understand that that's okay. You don't have to know everything, right? And the fact that this person's talking in class a lot about this thing, you have a moment of like, oh my God, I don't know
Yeah.
anything. They sound so
Yeah.
much smarter than I do. And then just be like, you know what? I'm learning, right? I can learn from them.
Yeah.
And
then
I
add my own.
realized people are way nicer than I thought they were. Like, when I don't know anything, no one's going to be like,
Ugh.
what?
Yeah.
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 What? Like, I really was terrified of talking in class in the beginning. Because
You're terrified of talking?
I know, I'm a yapper.
That's how I feel.
I did not
I'm
be
a-
like, oh, Lonnie's so
I'm
scared to talk.
a yapper by nature. But when I first started, I was second year when you met me. So I was kind of like, all right, into it. But when I first started with Melissa, it was because I had friends who were like goading me, basically.
Yeah.
And that's when I didn't feel like really like insecure anymore because I had like my buddies with me. And I feel like that's a big part of it. Like,
Yeah.
don't you like share like, don't you share so many like trauma and like it's so like hard being in grad school. Like I'm sure you and your like cohort are in a way like tight because of that, and that helps you get through it a little bit.
Yeah, I think, and that's key. And I feel like cohorts can go like one of two ways, which is either you trauma bond, right? Or you completely self-destruct and everybody just is like so anxious about their own knowledge that they're actually,
Yeah.
the fear makes them like kind of mean to each other, right?
Oh yeah.
So I've had experiences in class where people have been like kind of mean to each other, you know, so it does happen.
Is it like competitive in a certain way, or like what kind of like?
That is, I think, what it would be. It's kind of competitive, right? And I think it's competitive, not like I want to be better, but it's more like I'm afraid I'm not good enough.
That makes sense. It's like
Yeah.
you're afraid of not taking up enough space, so you try to like impose on other people a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely. I think that fear, like, causes people
Very
to
human, though.
It's
I
very
feel
human.
like, yeah.
And one thing about being an English major is you can kind of understand this stuff because you've read
Yeah.
so much.
And you've
you know,
analyzed it.
and you've
in
analyzed
characters.
it,
Yeah.
you know?
Psychoanalyze
Psychoanalysis.
100%. I think I owe a lot of like my interpersonal, not that I'm good interpersonally, you can tell me. Okay,
yeah.
cool. Just from like reading about people, right? It's
Yeah.
like learning about
Yeah.
people's minds, way they think, what motivates them. Like it helps. That's like the small like benefit, not small benefit, actually big hidden benefit I feel like of the English major
Yeah.
is like you are getting exposed to like the ideas of people throughout time, which makes it feel like this kind of shared connection. Like, yeah, everybody's kind of the same but different at the same time. Yeah.
No, I remember when I first asked you about it in 10B.
Yeah.
I was like, I pulled him aside in the MU and I was like, help me go into grad school or something. And the first thing he said to me was like, just don't go into debt. You were like, don't go to California and get into a lot of debt.
Yeah.
I just sat
I'm still
there.
in debt, yeah.
But I just remember, like, you know, I think it's nice that we have people like you to tell us those things. Because it's really hard. Like, I feel like I don't really know, like, everything you tell us right now is very new to us. Because we don't really get a side of, like, graduate studies. We see, like, TAs doing graduate work, you know, like, oh, I do research, I'm writing a thing, I conduct discussions, but like graduate studies is kind of a new thing. Like we don't really know what you guys learn. We don't really know how you guys are like classmates, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So hearing that environment is really interesting.
I always thought it was like an independent
Me
study
too. I thought
thing.
you guys just got together for coffee.
Yeah, me too.
Oh damn, that'd be nice. Well, okay, I'll clear some stuff up. Okay, this is good. I'll demystify some things. So for one thing, I also want to give the indication that like we're not friends. My cohort has bonded. Like we are close because of like it's difficult, right? It's hard, and I think we have enough of the right people to be like, I know that I feel insecure about where I'm coming from, but I don't care. I'm gonna be nice to you, and I'm gonna try it, and then we feel better as a result. And then the first like 2 years, you're doing coursework, so you're in classes, and so you're TAing or you're teaching like your own class at UWP, which I'm doing this quarter, or and you're in classes like learning like seminars, right?
Oh.
Yeah, and so we're taking like I'm taking a fantasy literature class right now. Which
With
is,
Worth.
Not with Worth. No.
Oh wait,
With
actually
Michael,
Worth is
yeah.
on sabbatical, I think. Okay, yeah.
She's
I'm sorry.
obsessed with Worth.
I'm the
She is
biggest fan of
obsessed.
Professor Worth. She's my role model.
Aw,
I want
that's
to
so
wear
cool.
platform
I don't think I know
Converse.
Professor Worth.
Oh my god.
She is so
Oh,
stylish.
that
She
sounds
is
really
the most
cool.
stylish lady. I was gonna say young lady.
Yeah.
That was so
That's a nice
patronizing.
compliment too.
She's so hip and she has a
Mhm.
mullet. She's like
Mm.
really wonderful.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Anyways,
That's cool. I like that. No, it's good. And I don't know, I had my role models when I was like, I was like, I want to be you. And then, I'm like, oh, but your marriage is not going well. That's not good. Maybe I don't wanna be
We
there. Yeah.
literally
We
know all the
conspire.
drama.
We conspire.
We conspire because we
Yeah.
have like professor celebrities who are like, oh my
Oh, yeah,
god.
local celebrities.
Yeah,
you
local
know?
Yeah.
celebrities.
Local celebrities.
I'm a local
Yes.
celebrity.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah, you're a
man,
local
oh that's
celebrity.
cool. I'll take it.
I yap about you and Katie.
Oh,
I love
Katie's
you and
Katie's a
Katie.
celebrity. I think Katie's a celebrity. She's
Oceans.
great. Yeah,
Oceans. Yeah.
See, and this is the thing I was always self-conscious about is like you hear like someone like Katie talk, and it's like, what do I study? Like this little thing, and like I know every single thing about this thing, and it's related to these theories, and I'm like, wow, how could you ever get there, right? And I think it's just through tons and tons of reading, right, and a lot of this development, and so I felt really behind when I got here. Like, okay, like I just like everything, and so I don't know that was a tough transition for me, and I'm a little bit more of a like generalist, I think, than some of my peers, but
Yeah.
you have to
No, because
be
that
comfortable.
like reminds me of, so Lonnie and I are both writing our theses right now.
A little early.
A little early.
Even
That's
though
good.
we
You're
were
on top
told
of it.
like, don't do it.
Yeah.
And we were told not to, and we didn't listen.
One of the professors was like, aren't you guys like kind of young? And we're like, no.
No, he was right.
But anyway, so I think both Lonnie and I have been talking. We're like, oh, I want to talk about this thing and this thing and this
I'm
thing.
talking
Yeah.
everything
And
that I
then-
like,
yeah,
and you have to pick one thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I went to Professor Solomon, and he was like, you can just write about that later. He was like, just
Yeah.
like write about that in grad school. Like, you don't have to do everything right now. You'll figure it out as you go, and you can like kind of pick a like general thing right now, and then as you go on, you'll like funnel it down to one specific area that's like really niche, and like you'll know a lot about it, and you'll be fine.
Very good advice.
So yeah, I was
Yeah.
like,
It's hard though.
interesting.
It's hard to follow.
Yeah.
It is, because at least for me, I wanted to write like the professionals that I was reading, right? And I'm like, okay, I have to get there. But to get there, you have to consume everything.
Yeah.
And then start narrowing it down as you go. Like
Yeah.
Professor Solomon said, you do have to, like, you can't just skip to the end, right?
100%.
And so my writing has gotten a lot better just because I'm just reading constantly, right? This is just like a constant reading experience. And so I'm always listening or read a book in my hand. And I'm just starting to narrow and get more and more specific. Like, I actually like this thing. And I don't think anybody's talking about it directly, And that's when you have the moment of like, I know where I am. I know what I'm going to do. But to get there, it takes a while. And I wouldn't feel like stressed or pressured about it, like let yourself.
What would you
try
say
it
though about, like how people study English and then they don't pleasure read anymore? Because it feels like a paradox, right? Like we're doing so much writing and technically reading, but I feel like I don't have a lot of time to like do the reading that I used to do before studying.
For the sake
And
of just
yeah, and I feel like that
reading.
hinders my writing a little bit. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I've kind of like what's that word? Like
Stagnated.
yeah, I feel like
plateaued.
I plateaued a little bit in that development because I'm so focused on my academic writing or this paper. I got lost in the sauce.
Oh yeah, you can get lost in the sauce. Yeah, you can get lost. Yeah, I still pleasure read actually, which.
I'm so proud
That's
of you.
like so nice to hear that people can still do it,
I'm
even
so
if
proud
you're
of you,
like that
Nicholas.
into
you.
studies. Yeah.
I feel like it is hard because when you are required to read so much, like the thought of reading something is like, oh man, I got to read this thing instead, and also it's hard for you to turn off your critic brain, right?
That's the thing. Yeah.
And you're looking at it like, okay, how would I make an argument out of this? How would I, how does this fit in? And it can be then like, oh, it's exhausting to try to read this. What I found is like, find a genre that you have no business writing about. Like there's no
romance.
Sports romance.
We just talked about the other day.
Yeah.
We can't write romance.
Yeah, we can't write romance, but then we read it a lot. Yeah.
Which is perfect. Like I don't read the romance, like kind of refreshes your like love of like it reminds you, why am I doing this? Well, because I just love reading. I love hearing the stories and imagining these worlds and these characters like and inhabiting that. And I will say that one of the most disappointing things about I love my grad program, so I'm not gonna say that, but is that we don't talk about books the way that I used to talk about books in these classes, right? And I think that's a struggle for a lot of people, a lot of English majors. It's like, can we just talk about how good this book was, and like how good
instead
this
of being
character?
like this character's a foil.
I feel like people try to do that though, while they're reading sometimes. Like, oh, I know what's gonna happen because foreshadowing. You kind of like you kind of start like annotating. Like annotating is just like consuming it.
Yeah, and I do because I've studied it so much. I do usually know what's gonna happen, like and I like there's patterns and structures, but it's still fun, and I like to look for the surprise, like okay, what's happening that like I didn't really expect, or what's like new, or what's like, and sometimes it's just like also what's just schlocky good stuff that I just want to fill my brain with,
Okay, I really want to ask this question.
These are like the more fun questions.
Oh, okay.
Okay, don't incriminate yourself.
Yes,
we tried to get Brandy and Charla to. It didn't work.
No, I'm never gonna incriminate myself. You can't get me.
Okay, so tell us like. Personal experience teaching grad school, right? What have you noticed teaching here? What's a crazy encounter you face with students or faculty or other grad school students that you're like, this is wild?
And you don't need to like name them, but
But yeah.
Okay, but it's a small world. I don't know. Okay, well, I get what you're saying.
Be like person A.
Person A
is in a nebulous cloud that we call a school.
I'm gonna take some courage and let's see what it is. Okay, so we want the but teaching here. One thing, and I don't say this to flatter you both, but UC Davis students are really smart. That is something I noticed.
Wow. That's so fun.
Yeah,
that's so fun to know.
Yeah,
it's just like I think you forget like because you're surrounded by other really smart people, right? That like I don't know. I've taught other places, and I know people who go to other schools and teach other schools, and like. If you're at UC Davis, like
you hear that?
Yeah.
That's so nice, John. You hear that, John? Jot it down in your notebook.
Yeah, jot it down, and put it in your. Oh yeah, there we go. You're right there. Pen and paper. Let's see.
So
okay, it's going down. I'm
so
smart.
Analog.
Yeah. I'm also analog, so I appreciate it.
My poem.
Yeah,
exactly.
Called Me Smart in a podcast.
Yeah, it's a great poem. Yeah, so I think that's the first thing I would say is like that people. Like a lot of the students I encounter have like maybe a low self-esteem about their intelligence, but then I like see their work or I hear them talk about things. I'm like you're so much smarter than I was when I was at like I was gonna like a car wash when I was 20. Like you're way ahead of me.
Whoa!
No,
don't
you
invalidate.
had sticky notes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I did have sticky notes. I had like the serial killer
protagonist
thing.
of a 2000s movie.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
is
You
true.
were working overtime.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. I appreciate that. This is my Ashton Kutcher rom-com.
I told you, you're more than your job, Nicholas. You're more than you as just a student.
Aw, thank you. And so are you. But you're not. Sorry, you're just a student.
Yeah, sorry. I'll just like.
Yeah.
You guys can talk.
I'll be on your side.
Thanks, Lonnie.
Someone calls me Melissa's counterpart.
Oh, wait, that's not very nice.
She goes, your counterpart is upstairs. And I'm like, I
Your cat or rat?
I'm like, Lonnie? Okay.
Aw, that's
Anyways.
so sweet too.
But have you had
Okay.
like an instance where you're like, what is going on?
And it
Oh.
can be with a student because I feel like
Yeah.
students don't really.
Like, has a student ever been like,
Mm.
my cat has flipped over and ran into another person's house, and I have to go sneak into a
Okay.
Like,
chimney
what's
to
the
get my cat?
strangest excuse you've ever gotten?
There's so many. I see a lot of excuses.
Is it like, I'm going through a really tough time? My cat died like 4 times.
Yeah,
Four
like over the
people
quarter.
before-
You know, a lot of the ones I get, I feel like are like really real. I mean, maybe I'm totally
Mhm.
duped by my
Mhm.
students in particular, but like, I'm like, yeah, okay, that sounds serious. You know, I don't know. I just try to believe people.
The
But,
chimney is crazy. Be careful.
yeah, the chimney. Oh yeah, don't get stuck in that chimney. But I will say, and I'm going to tell on somebody else's story. One of my best friend in this department, so they'll know who they are. Had a student say that they could not come to class because they fell in a mud puddle.
Real. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
And I was
so,
like-
that's so valid
I've
for
thought
me.
of that,
I'm
though.
And
sorry.
I was like, yeah, you know what? I guess if I was soaking wet and covered in mud, like maybe I
Yeah.
would go home. But just to be like, hey, mud puddle,
You know,
I can't possibly learn
Yeah.
today. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
if some people tell me like when it rains I cancel plans.
Really?
So mud puddle would be insane for me.
I'm gonna be honest. Like the most cancellation I get is like if it's raining out, everybody's like, "I'm so sick today. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
no way."
No.
Like as soon as water hits the ground, I just can't function. Yeah, and I'm from Washington, so I find that difficult to believe. But you know,
You're like, you guys-
He said suit up.
Yeah.
come on.
You guys don't
Yeah.
get it. You live in California.
Just get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other like excuses. I just a lot of people's family gets sick, you know.
Well, I feel like that makes sense.
But it does
Yeah.
happen. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people in people's family.
But it does
and-
happen.
I've one time where like it felt like a lie. Like the biggest excuse I was I've gotten into a bike accident and my friend's chin is bleeding onto like concrete. And I just told my professor they're gonna be late. Got into a bike accident, and it sounded like a lie. I was like,
Yeah.
her chin cut, and blah blah blah. And right after I was like, hit reply, never mind, not going anymore.
Oh my god.
Okay, that's so. When it's really specific, it's either one of
Mhm.
two ways. If it's like super specific but like way more detail than you need, it's like definitely
That
a
was me.
lie.
Definitely
That
a
was me,
lie.
yeah.
But sometimes it's so specific, they're like, how would they ever come up with this? So
Yeah.
I
You'd be
believe
surprised. I've heard of people who have like come up with
Creative
elaborate.
writers.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And then they
creative
have
writing.
alibis.
Yeah, they're like, my housemate can attest to this, that this happened.
it. And then I think the thing
Especially
that
with COVID.
people don't
Yeah.
realize is like, I mean, other professors are different. Like, I just don't care.
That's
Like,
true.
I care about
That's
you.
true,
I care
yeah.
about whether you're okay. I care
Mhm.
about whether you're safe. You know,
Mhm.
and that your family's okay. If you're not gonna come to my class,
Mm-hmm.
like you don't have to make me feel better about it, and you don't have to like have this long elaborate reason. Sometimes you just don't want to. Sometimes
Mhm.
I don't go to my classes.
Yeah.
And I'm a grad student, right?
Yeah.
And because like I have like so much work to do and all
Mhm.
the stuff's going wrong at home, and like
Mhm.
it would just be way too much for me to take
Yeah.
on to go
Yeah.
to class.
Can't teach properly.
I can't teach properly,
Exactly.
right? And so I can't. Although I don't think I've ever missed a class teaching.
Ooh, you hear that?
Snaps.
Yeah.
10
mm.
out of 10.
I love teaching. I don't want to say I don't know who I'm talking to, but yeah. So I think my biggest problem with my grad school experience is I care about my teaching too much,
Mm-hmm.
and like it should be a little bit more on the research side, right? But
That's okay.
That's okay.
That's
But
why
you-
you're a local celeb.
Yeah.
You got
You're-
clout with
oh,
it.
yeah.
You're so into it.
Yeah.
And we can see that.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Mhm.
But because I feel like, and if you go to grad school, you'll experience this where you have like all of these books you have to read and all these like little papers and
Mhm,
responses you have to
mhm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
And those are like due at the end of the quarter. And then it's like, but I have a class to teach today. So what am I going to spend my time on? Prepping for class? Because people are
Yeah.
going to be staring at me and I hope this
Yeah.
goes well and I want them to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that they come out of this knowing more about this. Or am I going to like, it feels selfish to like, I know I'm not supposed to feel this way, but like selfish to focus on like, well, I'm just going to read and just think about this book for a while instead of preparing for this
Yeah,
class.
because you're
you know?
essentially like a full-time student, but like working too. Like you got
Yeah.
a whole job. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a tough balance because you have like immediate deadlines of like
Mhm.
with social people like in front of you, and then you have these kind of like vague
Yeah.
deadlines about developing yourself
Yeah.
professionally as you
Oh.
move. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's a huge challenge. I know we're not in the challenge question, but that's a huge challenge
No,
with
yeah.
like getting to
Mhm.
grad
I can
school.
imagine.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost time for you to leave. So I have to ask you that kitchen appliance.
Okay.
Yes.
If kitchen appliances were to take over the world, which ones would do it better and which ones would show humans the most mercy, because I have my answers.
Very important.
Ooh, okay.
Wait, you do know
Yeah.
the thing.
I thought about this question purely because of G-Force.
G-Force with the talking guinea pigs
'Cause
and the
I'm
naked
the-
mole rat.
I'm the
I don't know
actual
what- I
mole.
don't know what G-Force
Oh,
It's
you're
very-
gonna
wait,
love
can we
it.
show-
You're gonna love
you-
it. We'll show you
John,
after.
can you input like a little clip of like G-Force?
Copyright.
Thanks.
Yeah, can you do the entire film?
Wait,
like,
John,
in the middle?
John, I
Yeah.
want to know your answer too, because John is also like techie.
Yeah,
we talked
John
about
was a-
AI for his
Oh.
episode and
Yeah.
stuff like
You talk about
that.
AI? We
He's
should-
really
we
good at
should chat.
hacking.
I was
If
on
you
the
didn't know.
development team for ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Are you serious? We have to. I'm doing all kinds of
Wait, what?
research stuff.
Yeah.
The writing
Okay,
center is doing
John
research
is-
on
John
this.
Wait, you were on the development team for
You have
ChatGPT?
so much lore that you just
What?
don't tell us.
I feel like John should be the one being interviewed.
Yeah,
Well, you should do
we're-
it again because John's got
100%,
way more to say than I do.
100%. He just drops
Maybe-
like dad
maybe we'll-
lore.
And John has
on,
a
like,
cool
everyone.
tattoo. I don't know if it comes out on the video, but
Oh,
John's
yeah.
tattoo
John,
is
show
really
them,
cool.
John.
Face reveal.
Yeah. Oh, face reveal.
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
Where?
pit you guys together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Talk
do.
about
We should definitely chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Kitchen appliances.
Kitchen appliance. Okay.
I would say that a Nespresso would show us mercy.
I was thinking
Mm.
that.
Because we treat them really, or a Ninja Creamy.
Ooh.
A Ninja Creamy, see, like if a
Ooh.
blender got me over, right? But I think
Mhm.
we treat blenders with a lot of prestige. I think
Mhm.
the kitchen appliance that would kill me would probably be like a vacuum. I feel like
That's
could
not
be
a
really
kitchen.
bad.
Is that a
Oh,
kitchen?
you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
that's
That's
not
not a kitchen appliance. You're right.
What's like?
What's a kitchen
You
appliance?
shouldn't have carpet in your kitchen.
Oh, yeah, I feel like
That's
what would be like an oven. I was thinking something that would cook me. You know.
microwave. I treat my microwave like shit.
Yeah,
like,
no, you
100%.
Absolute. I'm mad at it all the
100%.
time because it
That's
doesn't work
true.
right
Yeah,
or
it's
over-
dirty
yeah,
as
it's
hell.
dirty. Like I
Yeah.
never clean it. Like it's horrible. It would
Yeah,
easily.
but I think of like Nespressos, like people, those really aesthetic, like Instagram
Oh,
reels,
yeah.
where they're like,
You
Beautiful
"Look at
close
my
it
coffee."
gently after you
Uh-huh.
put in the pod. You're like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like
Expensive
stand
one.
mixers, I think would really like us.
oh, stand
Bakers
mixer.
Yeah.
are like nice people.
I feel like Crock-Pot would like us because like
Ooh.
we only use it like during the winter and then
Uh-huh.
we're like low and slow, don't have to rush. You have all the time. I'm your schedule, right? I'm gonna go on your schedule. We show a lot of
Mhm.
deference to the Crock-Pot, I feel like.
Mhm.
I think food processors though would be mad at us.
We kind of shake them. You know?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
like shove like just everything
yeah,
can in the
Yeah.
like
processor,
fill
like,
line or max line or
completely.
whatever.
For me personally, like if like my appliances came to life, my
Uh-huh.
dishwasher would be so nice to me
Oh really?
because I like never had one growing up,
Uh-huh.
and so I like wash my dishes
Yeah.
and then I put them in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so like it never touches a dirty dish, and so it's just like a
Us,
water
I
machine.
feel like this is
It's
a
just,
cultural
like,
thing also.
Yeah.
Because I, growing up,
Use the
my friends would like eat like spaghetti sauce would be all over their dishes in the dishwasher and be like, aren't you
100%.
scared that like the drip off
Yes.
would like get
Yeah.
on the rest
Oh.
of your plates?
Also,
Right?
the-
I
Is
don't know
that
if that's how it
not-
works, but that's what
Yeah.
I think.
I don't even know if that's
works.
how it works,
Yeah.
but
Okay, I have a thing. Oh, this is so off topic. I have a thing with
Yeah.
people who leave little bits of food on their
Mm-mm.
plate.
Mhm.
Not necessarily like, oh, I got full, I can't finish my plate. Like little bits of things everywhere that they just kind of like throw into like the sink, and then now your sink draining
Ugh.
thing is full of like little bits of
Yee.
rice. I'm calling like people who will know who do this. I'm calling you out
Yeah.
right now.
yeah.
Just clean your plate. Like I feel like if it's like just little bits, you just got lazy. You're not full. You just got a little lazy.
Yeah.
But I know some people
Yeah.
where it's like it's supposed to be like culturally like you leave a little bit of food.
That makes
Oh.
sense.
I feel like this is a
Yeah.
cultural
You gave
thing
me
to me.
enough.
Yeah,
of-
yeah. Like
okay.
ooh, like I'm
Yeah,
so
I
full.
like that.
I
Oh.
totally get that. But when
Mhm.
I'm like washing people's dishes and I'm like seeing how much food collects up
Ugh.
in the sink drain, I get really sad.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I get so sad. I feel like it's a waste of food. Anyways,
Mm.
your answer, John.
I don't really think it'll pick up on the mic, but
We can repeat what you say
Yeah.
verbatim.
I don't. In Asian households specifically, I think the rice cooker give mercy.
Rice
Yeah.
cooker.
Rice cooker,
is John's
mercy.
Asian
answer.
households specifically,
Asian
just
households.
how
Yeah.
important it is. in our
That's
household.
true.
Important it is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The machine that will kill us is the air fryer.
The
Air fryer. I was gonna say that
Such
too because
a
I literally like
good-
yank it out.
Yeah,
I'm
are
like,
people
oh,
mean
like
to the
go
air fryer?
faster.
That was gonna be one of my
I'm
answers for like nicest to us.
Really?
Oh,
Well,
okay.
because I have never used one, and I'm like, I feel people like love them so much.
Oh,
they
I
like
love
just
my
like,
air
write-
fryer.
They write poems about the air fryer. They
yeah.
love the air fryer.
overwork the air
Yeah,
fryer.
Yeah.
I
It
overwork
could
mine.
cook anything you want.
Mhm.
I do my sweet potatoes in there.
Oh,
Mhm.
So
really?
good,
Oh,
guys.
that sounds
Salmon.
really good. I want,
Salmon.
Yeah.
You should,
It's
you
just
should
like
bring
a
it to the
tiny
next
oven.
podcast.
100.
Have a little,
Yeah,
air fryer
100%.
podcast.
Yeah. But I think like things with blades. So I think what's a kitchen appliance that's like you know those things that
Immersion
are like
blender. I was just gonna
Oh.
say.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
not out of like spite or not out of like anger, but like, oh, you never used me, and I can make mayo for you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Which one would be the like kill us the easiest? Like, so what would be the easy? Because like some of them would hate us, but they would like
Mhm.
struggle. You know,
I don't want to be
like a
cooked
toaster
alive.
would like not do very
What
well.
can
Yeah.
poison me?
Ooh, that's a
I
good
don't know.
one.
I don't
Probably the
know,
microwave.
actually.
I still see the microwave as like the
'Cause
ultimate
You could
villain.
like open it.
Yeah,
and,
and
like,
it could like
Yeah.
put like tinfoil in itself and be
Yeah.
like, oh, like.
Are we missing? I feel like I should have came with a list of kitchen appliances.
But also the microwave, because like I always stop it before it ends
100%.
0.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I'm always like, I'm not gonna let you.
I don't
get
want to
to-
listen to
Yeah.
your freaking noise
Yeah.
all
But
the
then
time.
I'm just like,
yeah, it's like,
like,
yeah, right before it goes off, you sprint it over again.
Yeah.
Which one would be the best leader? Like to unite the
Oh.
others
Rice
against
cooker.
us.
He's
the rice cooker.
calm.
Oh yeah.
like crock pot rice
Yeah.
cooker. They're
Yeah.
calm and steady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also
yeah, that,
chunky.
those
I feel like
leadership.
they wouldn't
yeah.
be part of like the.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
pacifists.
Yeah.
They're like
maybe
Oh, yeah,
maybe
they're
like
passive.
maybe
This
like a
is true.
pan, because he's the OG. Like
Oh.
OG
Oh, it's
kitchen
like-
appliance.
I
if
see.
a pan was like a
He's
beat
like-
up general and like
Yeah, like-
He's
a-
been through, my pans have been through like war.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
a La
Yeah.
Crusette. Is it La Crusette? Like those ones that are like all stained from like
Yeah.
bread and stew, and they're like,
100.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna
Like
like
that.
call like a college person's like kitchen appliances. Like my
Oh.
pans are crazy. Like they're just
they've
like
been through a lot.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of dorm like like cooking utensils, and
Kind
they're
of
always
insane.
just like
Mm-mm.
maybe Target from 10 years ago, like
Yeah.
probably the handles
Yeah.
falling off. And
oh,
it's
100%.
like, yeah.
The hand's a little wiggly.
Yeah, it's always
Yeah.
wiggly. Like it's just like the
Yeah.
first thing that goes is like the
Mine's
handle,
wiggly.
and just like
yeah, mine's
Yeah.
wiggly.
it's like shakes. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
When you're
Yeah.
cooking an egg and it's like almost. Anyways.
I scratch my fan. Okay, that's so bad. I always find new scratches on it. I try to be so careful.
I think I'm like poisoning myself.
Yeah,
with
people
it.
say
I'm
that.
just
Scratched up
constantly-
Teflon.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. A pan is expensive.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they're gonna be mad at us because they're like, I was an investment.
Like
You
the
should be
stainless
You
mad."
didn't treat
steel,
me right.
the
Yeah.
stainless steel pans that you like don't
Like,
use.
who
well.
uses a Dutch oven when you're in college?
I don't. Know.
I've never used a Dutch oven
Me
in my
either.
life. Is fine.
That seems like
yeah.
I feel like I've been living well without like oil. You can't wash it or something.
I love the Dutch. We just don't need your equipment. Like we're
Yeah.
fine.
Where's
we
the
don't
crock
need your
pot
oven.
at?
You're too
Yeah.
high maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can cook so many things in a rice cooker.
Yeah.
You can cook a pancake in a rice
When
cooker.
I was in my MFA program, all I had was a rice cooker. I was like in somebody's like all I had was one outlet and like one
Oh.
bed, and like I was lived in somebody's backyard.
Oh my god.
And like so I made every single meal. You can do a lot with a rice
Yeah.
cooker. Yeah. I-
So 2000 protagonist Nicholas. I'm
yeah,
telling
that
you
could be a
right now.
montage.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Very
Yeah.
brief. So people, I think, have it really good in this program. Like maybe I don't want to say that, but at least for my experience going to my MFA,
It was here's fully
Mhm.
funded.
It's fully
I think.
funded.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was in a ton of debt for my MFA
Oh,
because
God.
nobody wants you to go to art school, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
He told me
makes
with
sense.
spite, don't do it.
Yeah. Yes, which I still stand by, even though I loved it. But I was on. I lived in Rick and Frank's house. So Rick and Frank were two middle-aged men who lived in a single-bedroom condo, and they hated each other. But they were friends, but they hated each other.
Uh-huh.
And there were no walls between our rooms. They put
Curtains.
it was like they built walls out of plywood, and like these like
Oh.
so like they just kind of built these walls and put like little doors in there,
Oh.
and so we could hear everything everybody else was doing all the time.
Enemies to lovers.
Yeah,
And they were roommates.
and
They were
and they were
roommates.
roommates,
Yeah.
and they were roommates, and and I slept on an air mattress that had a hole in it, so every night I would woke up on the ground. I had to
Oh,
pump it back up, and then I
no.
woke up on the ground. It was wild, and they had this crazy thing where they would like complain about each other to their girlfriends over Zoom, like, or it was Skype back then, but like,
Oh.
right, but they could hear each other and
Oh.
like, that's not what I said, Frank. Don't tell her that. And then like, shut up, Rick. I'm talking here.
Oh
Like,
my
yeah.
God.
And so it was constant, and I was always just like, because I was writing at the time, right? I was
Yeah.
like taking notes, like this is gonna go with something. It was
Wow.
too traumatic
That
to
was
relive, so I couldn't.
Inspiration.
That was
Yeah.
brain food for you.
It was
Yeah.
delicious brain food. Everything's kind of, which is writing is helpful because if you think of everything in terms of like, oh, this could be a story,
Mhm.
nothing's really.
Yeah. Like that
bad.
AJR song. AJR, yeah.
Yeah. What
talking
song? No.
100 bad. I don't want to.
Oh, 100 bad days makes 100
Yeah.
good. Stories?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Great
I
song.
don't know that
Lyrics.
song, but that's a good lyric, and that's totally true. Like all my
Right.
like horrible experiences, like I wish that was a little bit worse. That'd be a better story.
Yeah.
You know?
My
Dramatized it maybe a
sister
little
though
bit.
is she'll trip and then she'll be like, I tripped and I fell down the stairs and I fell down the stairs and I fell into a puddle and she's like gonna
Embellish
And I can't go to class. I'm so sorry.
Nothing stops her.
Yeah.
She's in your comments. She's like making up a whole narrative.
But sometimes they're fun to read.
That's true.
Yeah.
Really good.
Definitely.
But we want to
Okay.
respect your time, Nicholas.
Thank you.
Yes.
So thank you. Do you have any other? We like to do shout outs.
Shout out your novel.
Oh,
So shout
yeah.
out, promote yourself.
Promote-
Shout
Okay,
out your
promote
homies.
myself.
Yes.
I don't have a ton to promote. My novel is currently being read by my first readers. I'm gonna edit it and then we'll see what happens. I'm
Mhm.
super stoked about it.
Yes.
It's a eco detective novel, so it's like somebody investigating the murder of a tree.
Ooh.
Cool.
Yeah,
What's
it's
the title?
Like the Robin Hood tree.
Strawberry Wood.
Ooh,
That's good.
That's good.
Thank you.
That's good.
Yeah. So I like it. I'm hopeful because I haven't been able to do a lot of writing since my MFA because I'm just so
Mhm.
busy. But now I took some time last summer to do it. And then the Writing Center. I am now the graduate student researcher for the new Writing Center,
Mhm.
which is on the 4th floor of the TLC.
Yes.
We are launching in spring, like officially. Like we're open now, but officially in the spring quarter, we are launching. It's a beautiful space.
Mhm.
We have amazing consultants, such as our what we're calling our tutors, consultants, and we're doing really cool stuff so people can come and see and get help with writing, talk about writing, and not just writing. It can be if you're working on a podcast. We can help you edit it, think about it and then bounce ideas off it. If you're working on like a film project, right? We want to be multimodal and open for all these things. So, so I'm loving that right now, and I think that's the one thing that needs promotion. And take my class. And I don't have a rate my professor, and which is fine.
John,
which is
get on this,
fine.
John.
But no one's
Should we link
ever
it in
reviewed me.
in the
Yeah, we'll link it.
episode?
We'll create one and then we'll
Create one
link
link.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Then people are gonna be like, "Oh, I hated that guy."
Oh, God.
Now is my time.
I fell into a puddle. I didn't even say
He
anything.
didn't say he ignored my puddle email. I'm so sad, and I was wet and alone. Yeah, so that's all I have right now, and then maybe take my class and be nice to your TAs, and
Okay.
they're
Yes,
trying their
sweet,
best.
sweet.
Yeah.
Very good.
And thank you
advice.
so much for doing this. It's such a cool podcast. I love this idea. I wish somebody had this. I wish I could have listened to this when I was like in my undergrad,
Mhm.
and because I had no idea. I had no idea until I really got here. So
Oh, this was a fever dream when we started this.
Yeah, this started with like
car talks.
crying in the car and being like, we should
Oh,
make a
yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, that's actually something you could do.
Yeah, they're like, oh, here's this award. Maybe
Yeah.
apply for it. And we were
Shout out, Brandy. Thank you
Yeah.
for
yes.
helping. She said, chances of you not getting it are slightly low. And I was like, oh my God, that is encouragement.
Mm.
If I ever heard encouragement.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you so much
Okay.
for agreeing to come on and answer some slightly weird questions, but very entertaining questions.
Yeah.
So,
The ending?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do we end again?
Wait, I forget.
You have like a sign off
Oh, yeah.
phrase?
We do have,
yeah,
yes. Okay.
Okay. And remember, guys,
Stay
bookish.
bookish.
Okay, bye. Bye.